This is my third time doing this. So thank you very much for having me again. I'm always fascinated by the fact that we question what is creativity. I think people find it mysterious. I suppose I'm a creative person, and when that term is applied to me, sometimes it works against me. To be put into that category comes with a perception, and that perception is sometimes not friendly to a creative person. I want to explain why. I feel when it comes to creativity, we do not really see it for what it is. I'll show you some examples. This is a book, and we think creativity is what the author has written. Perhaps it's even on the design of the cover of the book. But I think that's really small thinking, because you're only seeing the book. But you're not seeing the fact that the idea of a library is a huge idea. And this is a place where you find thousands of books. Why not the library is being seen as an idea? And why do we only look at books being the idea? Again, I think this is brainwashing. We only see creativity in a very small perception. But the library is a huge idea. It's not just about books. Andy Warhol's Campbell soup cans. Some of you guys may know this. Again, we see this as art. This is where creativity sits. But to me, the idea of actually putting soup into a can, that's a big idea. Back in those days, for someone to think of this, I think it's brilliant. But why do we not see this as a big idea? Why do we only think when Andy Warhol turns it into a pop art, that's art or that's creativity? This is design, and it's intricate. It's also at the back of the US dollar bill. And to me, the idea of money is a huge idea. But we only see design if we look close enough. That's the only thing that we see. Oh, design is creativity. But come on. The idea of money, the idea of economy, to me, that's fascinating. But we always miss out the fact that creativity is everything. And we only see the Andy Warhol Campbell soup cans, but not the fact that the big idea is actually soup in a can. Or we see books being creatively a product of human endeavors. But the idea of a library, that's amazing. I believe this is Vivienne Westwood's design. So again, fashion. Fashion is creative. But I feel the idea of a button, that's amazing. The fact that someone created a button, we can have shirts where there are two halves. Or, I don't know what else buttons can do. But the fact that someone thought of this, something we take for granted, but we see the fashion, but not the button. So I really tell myself, in the work that I do, I have to see the button. I have to see the fact that money is an idea. It's not the design on a dollar note. But that's the perception most people have when they look at a creative person. They see only what they think is creativity, but it's not true. Everything around us, almost everything is created by us, except for perhaps nature. Even something natural. We have genetics now. We're creating animals, body parts, whatever. but we're always trying to pigeonhole creativity. And to be honest, that really is frustrating for me, because you're allowing this to somehow limit the potential of what you think can be done creatively. And that's such a small way of thinking. And, that's, to me, the root of the problem we have in terms of having a creative person trying to sell an idea to a client. Because the client cannot see past this creative person being someone who makes sense. They only see a creative person talking creatively, but not strategically. And that really does not make sense to me too. How is it not possible for you to accept that a creative person is also strategic? And the fact that the button is actually a creative invention. It's not just about fashion or books or what you think is creative. I really hope that we stop dividing what is creative and what is not. Because there's always going to be a problem. Creative department is on its own. Then there's the rest, creative servicing, client servicing or strategic. We're always dividing things. And to me, that's also a really huge problem. How can we ever be one agency when, there's a creative department, this guy is the creative director, that person is the head of client servicing. When you go to the client, you're already telling people, please see us separately because we're not really one. And that's always something that makes me feel like we're talking about being one, but come on, man. We're always trying to split things up. If you're really one, then the creative person is also servicing. The servicing person is also creative. And all of everyone needs to be strategic. You can't split strategy away from all the other people. It doesn't make sense. So I think, for me, the big takeout, hopefully for all of you guys, is do not see creativity for what you think it is. It's really small thinking. And for agency, hopefully one day, there's not going to be a creative department or servicing department or strategic department. Again, that's not helping the situation. So what does it all mean when it comes to the work that I do? I'll share you 4 examples. To me, what I've learned is if I remove the element of I am a creative person and therefore I should do creative works that are of a certain nature, it gives me a lot of liberty to look at things from media's point of view, from a product usefulness point of view. I'll share you some of these examples. So this has won some awards. But I think what's fascinating about this is when I first thought of this idea, I thought someone must have done this before. Because it's so simple. And you've seen this plastic wrapping thing in airports everywhere. But no one has turned into a business, which I think is a great business idea, but no one has done it before. But I was really not sure when I first did it, whether this is the second time someone has done it. But hopefully no one has done it yet. And the fact is, it's a media idea. If I wanted to work within the space of creativity, I would have come up with maybe a very creative poster. Not about looking at different opportunities. Why try so hard? I might as well go back to my comfort zone of saying, let's come up with a great headline, let's just stick to a poster, and then buy space. That would be natural. So I think being creative means not accepting or respecting the fact that this is the space I work with. I only can work within the advertising space, which I'm allowed to play in. But it's not true. So think of this as a media idea, not just a creative idea. This client came to me and said, we need to refresh our educational materials. Very simple brief. This is what we've done before. Please repeat them. Just do them in a fresh new way. But they've been doing this for a period of time, and I suspected that perhaps it wasn't helping. So I asked, what's the actual problem? Or the schools are in the highlands. Water supply is really bad, and they have very few bars of soap. And the soap is sometimes broken up into tiny pieces, and sometimes it's on the floor. So I said, perhaps that's your problem, It's not about more posters or more leaflets for the teachers to use, or an animated video to entertain the kids, because they'll get bored and posters become blind spots. So this is what we came up with. And it wasn't easy. Why make a 300-kilogram soap elephant? And we were also not sure whether we could find someone to do this. So we were a bit lucky. And the client was smart enough to understand that this can work because it actually solves a problem. And it wasn't about advertising. The advertising comes next. How do you publicize this? How do you own it? How do you actually help kids by helping the teachers to solve this problem? So this is a demonstration of that. a few years ago, the client told us, can you help us look for a list of toys? Because there are a lot of promotions. Just come up with a list and we'll talk to some suppliers and it's done. It's a promotion idea. Just find us some toys. And it's so easy, just Google them, then find a supplier in China to manufacture them, or perhaps there's already a list of toys you can buy. But then the questions came. So if your competitor has a better promotion, more interesting toy, so how do you fight with that other toy, you know? And how does this actually sell usage of the product? It really doesn't. I just like Spider-Man, so I buy this promotional pack, but it doesn't really make the kids brush their teeth or help parents to make their kids brush their teeth, which is a big problem. So we thought, is there any way to entertain the kids and yet demonstrate the use of the product? How Colgate can actually help parents to get their kids to brush their teeth. So again, when I thought of this, it was actually observing, you know, the icing on the cake. You've seen those, I don't know what you call them. So again, it was like, probably someone has done this before. Because it really feels like an idea that some businessman could come up with, and you know, I can help kids squeeze lots of toothpaste and I can help Colgate sell lots of products. But again, during that time, no one did it. And even now, I'm not sure if there are products like this in the market. So I wasn't thinking like, I need to do a list of toys. I was actually thinking there's a problem here upstream that's not related to toys or no toys. So I think, again, it wasn't about saying my creative area is only here and this is what I can do for you. I feel that's shortchanging the client. And also I feel it's really old school thinking. Advertising does not need to be the advertising that we all know. I just want to play one more last piece.
Major floods and landslides have claimed 100 lives in Vietnam.
Ideas that have won awards in different categories. They're all very practical ideas, very useful. I think the best ideas are the ones that you can actually use if you happen to be able to think of them. And one thing that I've also realized is working in Malaysia, Shanghai, and here, I have to build with whatever material I can find in that country. I just give an example. If in Malaysia, all I can find is mud, I will build with the mud that I have around me, rather than to say, you know, you're surrounded by mud, you got no other material to work with, and you say, I really need to chop some trees. I need wood to build a house. I think that's not practical. And I mean, materials also mean the people that we have, the talents that we have, the kind of budget that we have. So when I work in Malaysia, I build with different materials because the budget is different compared to, let's say, China. So in China, I will use the kind of materials available there. And again, to stress, materials meaning people, money, infrastructure, all those things. It's very practical. Over here, I build with what I have. These ideas, to me, they are Vietnamese in nature because I see practical ideas on the streets. I see it in the ao dai, the dress with the high cut. The reason is it allows the legs to move freely when the girls cycle. So there's a reason for it. It's not just about a sexy slit. The fact that the nonla, the conical hat, that's also very practical. The design is so practical. The material is so affordable. And it wasn't probably thought up by some designer, It was probably an idea that came from a farmer. Very practical, very useful. And I was in the museum here, and the Cuci tunnels, and I saw a cross-section of it, and I thought to myself, how did these guys, they cannot x-ray the ground, so how do you do this thing? And they have like a honeymoon room, so it's amazing, but it's so practical. I don't want to be seen above ground, and I cannot fight, whoever above ground. So I think of going underground. That's not just being creative. That's using what you have, and to not be afraid to go there, because it's probably not an easy decision to say let's live underground. I mean, come on. But they did. And to me, that's creativity. It isn't about, drawing or writing or whatever you think it is. That's so small thinking, seriously. And it's more than just to tell you guys, it's also more of a reminder to myself to not go there so easily. Because it's so comforting to do what I've been doing for the last, 20 years. It's so easy. It's hard to do great work, but it's easy to say, I think I'm going to do a banner ad, Facebook post. Because those things are there. And we always go back to them because they're easy. Not easy to do great stuff, but easy to say, I tick those boxes and I've fulfilled my criteria. And I think that's a shame, because creativity is not there. It's so much bigger. So sorry because I feel very passionate about things like this, because it's perception. I don't think it's great that when someone like Kerry introduced me as a creative person and he says, kid is kind of strange, because that comes with the territory. I understand, I completely understand it, but it's so small. Please do not divide the world into all these sections. It's not beneficial. So hopefully, some of you agree with me. Anyway, thank you.